What time to see you?
So welcome everybody. I'm gonna share some of the tools that I've been using since all of this madness began. But I wanted to start because I got an email from Glenda asking me if I was gonna do a polling. So I thought, why not practice on you guys? So here's my first question, and we'll do one at the end as well. I just want to get a feel of what you guys are using, if you're using anything, and then we will discuss some of these as we go on.
It's cool. As a co-host, I don't vote.
Oh, you don't?
That's okay. It's okay.
We'll ask you verbally if you use any of them.
By online quizzes, you mean prepared by someone else, or
any kind?
I deliver it online.
Yeah, like something like unproctored is what I was thinking of.
For YouTube channel, do you mean if we use YouTube videos or if we made our own channel?
Your own. Because I will talk about this in a little bit. I think we have almost everybody. There's 2 people. That's probably me and Glenda.
Yeah.
So let's see. I share result. Can you all see it?
Yeah.
Cool. So the majority is, as we expected, is the normal assessment, normal in quotes. Nobody uses e-journals. That's okay.
I don't even know what an e-journal is.
I will show you. It has different, depending on your learning management system. It might be under a different name. Clicker questions. So the majority is the online. All right, so I'm gonna stop this one. We can come back to it towards the end. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you know what I'm talking about. Let me know if you can't see any of this. Oops. So my name is Michael Boutros. I've been teaching at Victor Valley College since 2000. Started out as a math teacher, and now I teach math and physics. And as I do with all of my presentations, I like to start with a disclaimer that I'm not here to tell you how to teach your classes, but the tools that I am using. This became necessary because I'm one of the trainers for Canvas on Campus. And every time we do a session, people would get angry because they thought we were telling them how to teach their class. Well, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. So now to save headaches and make you at ease, this is the disclaimer. So I'm going to talk a little bit, and I'll do demos towards the end, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the new quizzes in Canvas. I don't know if how many are using Canvas, but if you have the older version, you might not have this new quiz. The advantage of the new quizzes is the types of questions you can ask, and you know, obviously you can attach different values depending on how much you want to make the question difficult or more easy or more involved as you see fit. On our Canvas, the district had bought a Screencast-O-Matic to be included, but I already had bought an account with them. I believe for 3 years they're charging me $36, so it's fairly cheap. It's a screen capture, and it's good for synchronous and asynchronous meetings. I don't use synchronous meetings. Once we went online, I started taping everything and allowing my students to watch them as many times as they want. The thing I like is this second point, is that you can have a picture of you and your screen while you're working, or not, depending on what you want. And the third thing is, which I will share a little bit, is how easy it is to upload to YouTube once you make an account. with YouTube, you can easily upload your screencast videos to there. I'm sure if you used Canvas, you're aware of the speed grader. I will tell you a little bit about the rubrics I use, especially for lab, and some of the feedback choices that I use with my students in terms of voice messages or video messages or something like that. And then within Canvas, there's something called ePortfolios, which I played with a little bit this semester, and then stopped when COVID came about. But I'm thinking I'm going to use this as their lab journal next semester in the fall, and I'll tell you a little bit more about those features. All of my students are on YouTube most of the time. They share some of the videos they find about physics that I share with the rest of the class. What I like about YouTube is your videos are transcribed now for free, so you don't have to worry about transcribing them yourself. And you can edit them depending on how fast you speak or how technical your words are going to be. Sometimes YouTube transcription comes up with very it's almost like autocorrect on your phone. You like, why would I ever say this in this context? But they allow you to edit it if you need to when you upload it to your account and look at the transcription. Students have the option of watching it as many times as they want. Currently, what I'm using this for is the lecture part of the class, solving problems, discussing concepts, derivations. And that's why I think it's a substitute for holding live lectures. A lot of my students' work schedules changed. A lot of my students have families and now they have kids at home. So I didn't want to hold them to a specific time where they had to be in front of a computer for classes when this was an option for me. I'll take questions at the end. I'm sorry, I can't see anybody if you're asking. And then some of the tools that I found that I will share with you. Reflect to Teacher is very cool. It allows you to use your tablet, your phone, your whatever you mirror as a second device. This is great if you're demonstrating a lab and you have your video capturing on your iPad. You don't have to take your laptop and go around and take a video. You can use your iPad. It's wireless, so you can share your screen wirelessly or connect it to your laptop. Socrative is a remote clicker question software. It's free to students, but if you want better control of it, you can get a paid faculty account. I believe Maggie's going to talk a little bit about drawing tablets. I have a pen tablet that I will share with you. I did a search on campus here where I teach to find out what our faculty are using, and these were the top 4 choices. I am familiar with the first 3. I haven't looked at Viral Pro, but I know that I've seen it mentioned a couple of times in online chat and listservs. And then I use something called Scanner Pro, which my students use as well to upload solutions when I ask them to do stuff by hand and to upload work or take exams or labs. And I'll show you how I do that as well. It's I think $2.99 for the yes.
We have a question about Socrative.
Okay.
How different it is from using polls built into Zoom?
I'll show you, and maybe the demonstration will be a better. It's just another option. I already was using that for in class, so when we moved to when we moved online, I just continued using it because my students were still familiar with it more than the Zoom. So, and I don't use Zoom. The only disadvantage is if you're not doing it in class, you don't know who's answering the questions for the students. I'll give you that much. But but I use it mostly for participation points. So I'm going to switch screens to show you some of the demos now. But before I go, are there any other questions? I'm hoping to give others ample time to share. I know Janet sent me a Word document that we will share, and Maggie, you were going to talk about your drawing tablet as well.
People are talking about the different learning systems that they use. A lot of Blackboard, D2L, Canvas, Bridges, etc. And I think Geoff also uses YouTube demos that then he puts in his lectures, brings up and inserting lectures, etc.
Yeah, I use Screencast-O-Matic to capture what I'm doing on my tablet, the pen tablet, and then I upload it to YouTube, and my students have found that to be very helpful. So again, it's what you will find out that you will find a method that works for you better than others. But it's nice to know what's available out there, I should say. Let me see if I can do this. So you can see my screen, yeah? I am a fan of using these GIFs on classes. I think it grabs the students' attention. But let me show you what I mean by the different quizzes in case you have not seen those before. I just created this for today. One of the things I like about this is, as we will see, I like the different choices. It's not just multiple choice questions. Again, this was done just for the sake of preparation, so excuse me if there were some mistakes, but categorizing, I think I'm going to start using a lot more. I use most of these online quizzes for reading, to make sure that they're reading the lecture notes, that they're reading the slides, that they're at least having some kind of exposure to the concepts before they come to class. All of my classes run on a modified flipped classroom basis, so this is my way of trying to ensure that they are doing the reading. So the first one is categorize. The second one is short answer, right? I've been using this third method for almost all of my assignment. I put resume, but usually it's upload a file with your solutions to worksheet number 4 or something like that. And that way I can take a look at what they upload. I'll show you in a little bit SpeedGrader and how you can use that for annotating students' work. Fill in the blank, obviously. You're seeing my account as an instructor, so that's why you're seeing the answers right there. But here's something, if you're not familiar with the new quizzes, I'm going to click on the edit part here for a sec, and you will see that if you put the variables that you want to change in these in this format, and you give it a minimum and maximum value, supply the correct formula, then these are all the different choices that your students will see when they click on that question. So that's one way, you can almost guarantee that no two students see the same exam value or quiz value. And you can do it for, you know, whatever formula. I just picked this one. Matching is another way. And by the way, step-by-step directions on, I'll provide this at the end. Step-by-step directions on how to do this is provided by Canvas. You can, I just noticed, is that tech? Yes, you can use tech commands within the new quizzes very easily. Multiple answers, right? This is something that can be used very easily. I always include this in all of my workshops for remote training. depending on your mentality and how I'm doing, you might pick all of those. Usually ugly and bad, or pain. I used to have painful in there too, because we used to have those mandatory on our campus. But you can also have numeric, right, where you don't change the value, but you can play with it so that it's not two answers that work, but just one.
I guess
Or
one
go ahead.
interesting question would be, how many of us don't have this options? You may not have all of them, but how many
Right.
do not have a system where you can have all these options of different options of questions you can make?
We use D2L. I don't think it's this sophisticated, but I haven't tried making a quiz on D2L yet.
Yeah.
We are not going to have all the same options, but we do have many of them. There's multiple choice, there's fill in the blank, there's calculated formula, and
Yeah.
like, there are those too.
This is, I think, within this year that Canvas, if I'm not mistaken, came up with this based on recommendations from faculty. So this is that on our Canvas, they still allow you to use the old quiz style as well. I'll talk a little bit about how you can upload a quiz as well if you're using something like my math lab, my physics, Pearson, TestGen, or ExamView, or Diploma, if anybody's still using those. Your true false. But here are two things that I know I heard somebody talk about them a little bit. There's one called the hotspot, where you can identify an area in your graph as the hotspot and then ask a question regarding to that. So the student would have to click on, maybe I'll go after this, I'll go into preview and you can see what I mean. The student has to pick and click somewhere around here in order for them to get the correct answer. This is called hotspot within Canvas. And then the last choice available is something called a stimulus, where you give them a picture. It could be a video. This is one thing that I haven't looked at completely yet, but I'm going to put one of my videos in here and then write questions, something like, at this point, I talked about this concept, write some answers based on that. But you can see that you can put any kind of the questions that we mentioned above in here. So let me show you how a student would see this. One thing I like about Canvas, it tells you when you're not in faculty mode. So whenever you see this pink thing, it'll tell you, so, right? So the student will have to go in, and based on what I did before, based on how I created the question, you create the question with correct answers. So I'm just doing this, obviously, just to show you how easy it would be for the student to, right?
I'm a little worried about some of your answers there.
I'm sorry?
A little worried about some of your answer choices there.
No, yeah, I didn't. I just came up with this. So yeah, this is not meant to be, right?
I was just kidding around. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. It's always better to make one this easy than to try and impress you with my physics knowledge.
I'm totally impressed by Canvas. Very nice.
It is very, very nice. Right. So, and it's something different, right? I would never ask my students something like this, where memorize the chapter where something came in from, but I just wanted to show you the capabilities here. But this, right? So if I click here, it will, but we all know that this is the correct answer because we've seen it, but it allows you to put, now, as long as I click somewhere within my box, it will count it as the correct answer. So there's nothing preventing the student from clicking anywhere on this picture, but hopefully they'll be smarter than that. Questions about the quizzes part? When I first started teaching on Canvas, I used to use Pearson's TestGen. I'm sure some of you might be familiar with TestGen. You can upload TestGen created quizzes in here as long as you upload them as a QTI file. I don't know what it stands for, you probably know. But there's an option within TestGen to save your exam. You would have to start it as a web exam and then save it as a QTI. And when you save it as a QTI, TestGen will create a zip file, and you can upload that, and students can look at it. You can add pictures and all of that. I can show you one of the ones that I'm using. Those are your typical multiple choice. I always allow one question only, but those are just your typical multiple choice type questions. This was generated in TestGen. Questions before we go on to the speed grader feature? I believe this is available in Blackboard, but it's hidden somewhere. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Can I hold on a second? Oh, you can hear me.
Yes.
So on a separate note, but this is about uses of Blackboard and well, Canvas, etc. I just want to show something. So a while ago, I needed to, we decided the assessment we were going to do at the school, we were going to focus on FCI, and we needed to do that remotely and online because we didn't have class time. So nowadays, everything is remote. People are probably doing this, and this must be available. But if you don't mind, can I share my screen?
Sure.
Yes, please.
Yeah. And oh boy, no, I forgot how to do this. Oh, share screen. Here you go. Share. Yeah, so here, so for instance, this is the students in 130 are taking the second installment of the FCI. And so I just uploaded the FCI. It was a pain, but that's how I did. I wrote everything and put the pictures, I hope you can see. So they're doing the FCI online. And yes, there are articles on whether FCI online is also timed 30 minutes and etc. But these are the FCI questions, so they don't have the multiple, very different ways of answering questions and etc. Right? But anyway, so it's possible for assessment to these days, everything is remote. So now even remote assessment, standardized assessment, I think is going to be more acceptable. Another thing I wanted to show, but I just saw that some of the videos are not working, but this is, for instance, from real-time physics. And then the graphs, this is one of the questions, the assessments I made for the students and all. I see some of those videos are not working, which I absolutely have to fix, but then they're matching also. This is Blackboard, they're matching graphs with the videos. It's just a magnet going inside a coil and so on, and things like that. Yeah, yeah. Then, yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted to share.
Okay.
Ooh, stop sharing. Michael, do you mind sharing your lab report rubric? That's one of the questions.
Yeah, I will. I actually found it online. I just modified it to be with me. I think I have a PDF. I will put it in the file that I will send to Glenda to put with the other shared material, the video and all of that. So yes, I do not mind anything to share that you see here. But I want to show you how useful it is to have the rubrics. And please excuse me for sharing one of my student. So ignore the student names because these are, right? So once you attach a rubric to a report, you go to Speed Reader, View Report, right? And then all I have to do, let me make this. all I have to do now is click and it will generate the grading for me. I use this for problem solving when the problem is either correct, half correct, or incorrect, because that way I can zip through these fairly quickly. The only thing you have to do if you're using Zoom with this is after you hit save, you're going to see a box open here. I'm not going to do this because my students will get an email that I changed their grade. So you'll see a little grade box come here. Whatever the total that is obtained, then you would just click that and it will go into their file. And then all I have to do is click on the next and I'll go to the next student and so on. So very, very useful, very handy if you have heavy writing assignments, and very, very useful. And you can edit it, right? Anything I want to do, because it's an active assignment, you can. But if you can, click on this, and then anytime you see a little plus sign, you can add any criteria you want in here. I just like this one because it covers everything I need. If the lab, for instance, doesn't have graphs, then I can delete this from the rubric when I do it.
And you give this rubric, you tell the students about this rubric at the start of the semester.
Yeah, so notice that the assignment is called Experiment 1 Report. The students will get an email telling them what the content is. They have to upload a file. You can even restrict what kind of file you want them to upload. I only accept PDFs right now. And then when they go to submit it, they will see this. I also share the PDF with them at the beginning of the semester so that they know what I'm expecting for the labs. And notice that this is not lab specific. It's written in a general way that it might work for all of your labs, or if not, you can always
so Maggie, this is a feature in Blackboard too. I've never used it.
I'm a recent convert to using rubrics, but they've made my life a lot easier when everything is turned online. Now I don't have to print it, handwrite it, scan it, and send it back. I can always send them. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. So let me. When I was grading my students' report, I don't know if you can see the 3 options down here. I can send them an attachment with all of my. I will get to your question, Tony. I just saw it. I can do an attachment if there's too much writing. I can annotate here, right? I can say you needed to do this, give them directions here. And the students will see that when they click on the assignment. So they will see my my comments. I can actually send them a voice message or send them a video. So I can be grading their lab report, and I'll show you in a little bit with Screencast-O-Matic, where I can concentrate the screen on their lab report and give them feedback, where my video would be where you see it now, and the work will be covered in there. I haven't done that yet. I don't plan on doing it. Mostly I send either an attachment or a voicemail, something like, good job, please read comments on calculation section, you forgot units, something like that. Just a little extra direction for the students. And they've been receiving those very, very positively, I have to say. We do assignments about error analysis and uncertainty, Tony, at the beginning of the semester. And then I expect them to do that throughout the labs. Yeah, so there will be at least one question of uncertainty and error analysis in each of my labs. This is Physics 100, by the way. This is the physics for liberal arts majors, so not heavy on the calculations.
Okay. Oh, you know who was in there last?
But in my engineering physics, there's heavily error analysis and uncertainty in there. I hope I answered your question.
I was just asking because actually I think I'm pretty weak on teaching uncertainty and error analysis. So I was just asking because
I was till last fall.
I'd love
so.
to learn a lot of that.
All right. So because I wanna try and give everybody else some time, I wanna just show you what Socrative is. You can also get this on your tablet or your phone. It doesn't have to be online. But if you are because you're the faculty, make sure you download the teacher app of Socrative. I'll show you in a little bit when I show you the reflector. And then you can create your quizzes by class if you want. The reason for the rooms is that if you want to let your students know, it's kind of like pass protected. I give them the name of the room on the day of the assignment when they come to class. That's how I made sure that I used it for attendance as well and participation. But if you're going to do this online, it would be something like a Zoom password. You would create a room, maybe call it quiz 1, and send it to them, and they will know how to get it. But it's fairly easy. You can create the quizzes in here, or you can upload pictures if you want. Again, you're seeing the correct answer because you're seeing the teacher part. Again, part of these were taken from my publisher's text bank when I did those, but I'm converting all of these to Canvas at some point. Do you use the group feature on labs? Yes, I used the lab feature, the group feature twice in 2 settings. I used to have students submit only 1 lab report. And part of the lab report assessment was that they had to do a peer review of each other so that everybody carried their own weight. And on all of my engineering classes, there's a computational project, and that's a group project where students have to work in groups. And that's how I've been using the feature. And in Canvas, you can give 1 grade to the group, and it goes to all the individual members as well. I just remembered that I didn't show you something in Canvas, but I forgot what it is again. So in YouTube, under your account, if you go to the studio, you can upload the videos. And what I do is I upload them here because Canvas has limited storage size for us on our campus. So what I do is I upload the videos here, and then I embed them from my YouTube channel into my Canvas classes. For instance, if I go to and it's basically just me working on my tablet, doing examples, and the students can follow them and watch them whenever they need to.
Is that what you use Screencast-O-Matic for?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And that sounded like like an iPad or something.
Yeah, I'll show you. Can you see it? This is
Is that one of those Wacom tablets?
Yeah, it's Wacom Intuos is what I use.
I bought one of those, and it drives me crazy because I can never get my hand in the right spot, and my handwriting looks horrible.
That's why the first couple of times when you start, you don't put the volume feature because you are gonna use some choice words at it. Yes, but my recommendation is put it where you're in front of your laptop, because you're not going to be using the keyboard. So use it in front of your laptop as a piece of paper, and that helped me a lot.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So here's I use OneNote, And if I get Screencast-O-Matic to start, so you click on it, you start, you want to record. It gives you how big of a screen do you want to record, right? So that's very helpful, I find. So if you want to use part of your screen, that's fine. And then I would just use my pen and, you know, not here to teach you, obviously, but
it'll record you talking while you're writing.
it will record you talking. Depending on how big, new your computer is, if you have something like that Red Dragon, it will transcribe it for you, but that's a third party. That's a third party software. After you, oops, I forgot to do one thing. After you set it to record, right? It'll always give you a start. So if you want to put a graph up and then start talking, now it's recording everything I said, right? If I hit pause, I hit done, save and upload. And because my account is connected to YouTube, all I have to do is click this button. If you want to save it to Screencast-O-Matic, you can always do that. But I found out that they don't have enough space as YouTube. YouTube gives you unlimited space. If you don't like it, you can delete it. If you want to edit it, you can go to anywhere on here and edit it from here. So very, very useful tool. The only reason I use OneNote, I know Microsoft is not everybody's favorite, is because it came free with our faculty account at school. We have 365. So that's the only reason. But if you look on the, I'll show you in a little bit Reflector, and that will where I will stop. Any questions up till now, folks? I know I've taken way more than I wanted to, and I apologize to Maggie.
There was a thing about using your iPad.
Yes, I'm going to show you that next.
Oh, okay. I saw Kareem put that up there. I guess I feel like maybe a survey of what people use and what they found most useful.
Yes, I have a survey at the end on if you wanted to see anything in more detail.
I mean, as far as writing, I guess that Wacom tablet just drives me crazy. I wonder if it's worth investing the money in a better tablet or something.
If you do Reflector, it's much better.
What's Reflector?
It's the one that allows you to use your tablet. Give me 1 second. I'll show you in a.
Okay.
Let me see.
I think Screencast-O-Matic is free up to a certain limit, right, Michael?
If you buy the paid account, then you have more unlimited. I can record up to 45 minutes now on the middle tier.
I think Reagan had that experience too. I think she said that several meetings ago, the first time I heard. I think there's what is it, 5 minutes or 10 minutes limit with
No. If you get the paid, which is $36 for 3 years, I have a video that was 13 minutes long.
But the free version.
The free version is
free.
Yeah.
Free.
But which is not a bad idea, right? If you can finish everything in 5 minutes, that's great. So can you guys see my screen or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay, let me share with you.
15 minutes.
I don't think students want to watch you more than 15 minutes anyways, probably.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
Oh, let me disconnect and then connect again. Sorry about this. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see everything. And you can see it now, right?
Yes.
So the name of the software is called Reflector Teacher. And if you swipe on your iPad or tablet, where did it go? Come on. Of course, now it's not. Link. Excuse me, guys. Technology always has to tell us that we're not as smart as they are. But now can you see that it's showing my iPad? Can you guys see that? Can anybody see my iPad? Hello?
Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so now if I click on my iPad, I'm sorry, I forgot who the gentleman was that didn't like the tablet. This is a software called GoodNotes. It's $7.99. I'm using my iPencil on my iPad.
That looks great.
Yep. And you can pick colors, you can pick background paper. There is a feature to add pictures. This is called GoodNotes. If you have it's Mac and PC, and for the Mac you need Catalina, unfortunately, for the last version, which I don't have, so I can only use it on my tablet. But if you have Catalina, you can get a desktop version and then use the desktop to add. So you can do anything you want. You can try graphing.
So
Is that
hold on.
recording?
If I added Screencast-O-Matic, which comes on the iPad, yes, you can record it easily.
Or you go ahead, Glenda. I had another question. I'm sorry.
Okay, so well, let me see if I can get rid of my actually now background. so if I have a pad and
Yep.
I use the XP pen, and I'm doing this in GoodNotes or Notability. Also, someone mentioned that they use Notability. I use a Mac, and then it's going to look gorgeous. It's going to look gorgeous what I'm writing. Is that what you're promising?
Yes. There's also ways where you can change the paper to ruled, dotted, graph. So depending on what you want, I picked black with the white only because I think it would share better on a screen. Also, folks, if you swipe from the top to the bottom of your tablet, I know for our iPad, it has a screen capturing feature. It's this one, but because I'm using a different software, it's the round with the dot. You can screen capture your iPad if you're not using depending on what software you're using.
I'm confused about the difference between GoodNotes and Reflector. What are those two different things?
GoodNotes is the paper that you see when I want to generate the files. Reflector is what allows my iPad to show up on my laptop.
Oh, okay.
So instead of using a Wacom, you would use GoodNotes or Notability, or Penultimate is another one that's been there for a while. So I think this is all I have, folks. Sorry for taking so long. I did not mean for me to speak this long, but I know that we have a couple of more speakers that would like to share some points. So I'm going to turn it over to Maggie. If you, yeah, I see you, Maggie. So if you're still here and would like to share, please go ahead. Thank you for listening for me ramble for a while.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
Am I too loud? Am I okay?
You're fine.
All right. So I just wanted to show you what I've been doing for my lectures for, since we went on since we went online, I've been doing synchronous lectures and recording them in Blackboard. So those of you who have Blackboard, I don't know if Canvas or D2L um, have something like Collaborate, but Collaborate's a lot like Zoom, but it's built into Blackboard. And so you can create, I'll leave this session for a second. Yeah, it was fine.
Canvas has something called conferences, Maggie, that is very similar to Collaborate in Blackboard.
Okay, excellent. So you can start a session and
Collaborate costs $33,000 from the college. My college is cutting it out. We won't have it anymore.
oh, that stinks. It's been a godsend. So in the reason I like it is that it has a lot of features for things that I can share with my students. And actually, this was the reason that I bought one of the Wacom Intuos tablets for this. So at the start of all of this, I bought a Samsung Galaxy Tab A tablet, which is pretty nice. It works pretty well, except for one very unfortunate feature with Collaborate, which is, so if you look here, you can see share blank whiteboard, share application screen, share files. I'll show you all this stuff. The tablets do not allow you to share your application or screen. So if I had a video that I wanted to show to my students, I couldn't share it with them. So, but it does have some nice stuff. So I had been using the blank whiteboard to draw. So you can use it as a, can you tell what I'm teaching this semester? It's not the greatest, so on and so forth. Yeah, it's not the greatest. I assure you that in real life, my handwriting is better than this. But
you can share a video. You can share like a YouTube video.
I could, but on my tablet, I couldn't.
Like
it wouldn't.
Tablet.
Yeah, the tablet. It doesn't allow you to share the application or your screen. So I had to switch over to my laptop, and that's why I bought the pen and the tablet, so that I could use the whiteboard to do examples. And then I could also, when I can share files, that's one thing that's allowed when you're using a tablet, is you can share files. So you can share PowerPoints. So I make my PowerPoints available to my students in the Blackboard shell before class starts. Oh, I might have picked one that was a little too big. I wasn't really thinking about it. This is for my earth science class, and it has all the pretty pictures. So it'll share. It does some weird stuff I've found when you share the files that have equation editor equations in it. So it doesn't. Sometimes you get some weird formatting with the equation editor from PowerPoint. But it doesn't do, the one thing it doesn't even do here is it won't let you, so this slide is actually a YouTube video that's embedded in my PowerPoint slide. So if I wanted to show this video to my students in a lecture, what I would need to do is I would need to be able to, share my screen. So instead of doing instead of sharing the slides this way, I need to be able to share a screen. And then I can show the PowerPoint, although it's doing something odd down here. So and it also, the other reason that I bought this is so that I could use my laptop, is that I could use Logger Pro and do demos. So I did bring home ye old motion detector. So I have, so now I have the motion detector out, and I can do demos for my students live in my lectures. So whenever you do one of these, whenever you use Blackboard Collaborate to do any of these things, other stuff that you can bring up is you can do polling. Now, sadly, you cannot preload polls, so you have to do them on the fly. It's fun. I'll show you guys whenever I ask, I have clicker style questions in all of my lectures, and the last distractor in any of them is always "I'm chicken," because I tell my students it's okay in my class to admit that you don't know what the answer is, because science. And they actually, they really like that. Like they'll own up to being chicken. So, so there's polling in here. You know, you can share the, you know, you can, you know, once the students, once everybody votes, one of the nice things about the voting in Blackboard that I like, and I've started to appreciate more, is you can look at the attendees and you can see you can see who has voted for which answers, which is kind of a nice feature in Collaborate. And then you can show once everybody's voted, you can show the answers to your students, and that, you know, just as you would with a normal, you know, if you do clicker questions in your classes. It doesn't allow you to record anything, and it's basically as soon as you end the poll, it's done. It doesn't share anything. But you can do things like the share blank whiteboard. That's actually any student can come in and write on that. So I had a student who figured that out pretty early on and started pranking my lecture, which is okay because he's a very good-natured young man. And I'm like, I know who's doing this, and he's like, yeah, that was me. But students can work on this. You can do breakout groups, so you can put people into the breakout groups and you can monitor what they're talking about. So if you like to do, you know, if you like to do group work, or if you want to have students like do practice problem sessions, you can do the breakout groups. So I've been experimenting with this, doing synchronous lectures, and then, like I said, you can record. You can record the lectures in Blackboard, and then once you stop recording, they are saved to Blackboard, and you can post them in your Blackboard shell. So it's nice to have everything all self-contained there. So I've been making heavy use of Collaborate for the, you know, since what I guess the last 10 weeks now, however long it's been. So the tablet's basically a tool to enable me to use all of the features of Collaborate to their fullest. That's all I had. Anybody want me to show anything?
Just so that everybody knows, I scheduled this for 2.5 hours. So if we need to go over and nobody has to leave, we can stay. If somebody wants to share more.
I'll stay for 3 hours if you throw in some drinks.
Woohoo! I haven't figured out how to send them via Zoom yet.
This is all I have.
All right. Water as well. Janet, are you still here? You're on mute.
I'm here.
Would you like to share what you sent me earlier?
Yeah, it's nothing earth-shattering. I was scrounging around on the internet, and I'm trying to get out of here. There we go. I was scrounging around, and there's just searching with remote teaching sources for physics, and all kinds of junk came up. There's some really good labs. I have a Word document with the links. Dartmouth College has some really good remote lab activities. There's the physics aviary that some of you may have heard of before. PHET at Colorado is excellent. And there's my physics lab also. And there's one that is physicsbu.edu that has advanced simulations, problems like coupled oscillators, you name it, they've got it. Wonderful graphing. Any of that stuff, I was thinking more of online lab activities. One of my colleagues was saying that some of the things, Pivot, that they were using for lab, some of the materials for lab at Harper, the material was actually too hard. The students didn't get it. I don't know why. It looks simple enough to me, but that's just me. There might be some of these materials that are lab materials where there's a simulation and you can take data from the screen and go from there. Anywhere that's a Word doc with the links. Can you put that up, and then they can have access to it when they go to the Zoom record?
I will share it with Glenda and send all the rubric as well.
Okay.
So
can I do just a quick, I mean, it's kind of a permanent job here. If you don't mind, I'm just going to share the screen again quickly. Again, I'm showing the same thing over and over, I guess. I want to just show you guys so you are here on our website, and you go to first, when you are on our website, right? You go to resources, and when you see the resources, these are not things strictly shared during Zoom meetings. These are just general resources. So you go here, you see there's Fizzport, Compadre, Per, Pickup, right? And then some statistics, the Institute demonstrations, 3, Colorado Pyra and TAPL and the demo room, video analysis, right? So there's some video analysis here, tracker, etc. if people want, etc. And then, I clicked where I shouldn't. And then this is just a few. This is not supposed to be a complete link. These are just collapsible links. Simulations. So on the simulations, there is the physics aviary. So there are some things, Janet, I'll take a look. There are some things that have been posted already, but I'll take a look again. But the ones on Dartmouth College, etc., those are not here yet. But the Sims by Duffy is very nice. Compadre, again, the Fizzlet, the FAT, simulations, physics classroom, etc. There's a lot here. There's some extra. So this is not, Janet, also you had sent a few other extra links about astronomy. There's several more here, DIY astronomy and all, lots of Andrew Young had done, some on ethics and etc. So these are just the general, like it said here, this is short compilation of some essential links. It's not meant to be complete. That would be unfeasible for us, not feasible for us to maintain something all is complete and all is right. But as I say here, there are other sites that are doing this, keeping these compilations always complete. And then the things that we share during Zoom meetings, the shared labs and the remote teaching, etc. That's in yet another link. Okay, so just so you all know, because sometimes you don't know, and many of the tools, maybe Michael, that you were talking about, I would put here in information shared during Zoom meetings. I would put here where it says remote teaching tools. These are like tools, just tools. So some have been collected already of things to do with videos, editing videos, etc. So I guess we'll add to this with many of the tools you mentioned. And then there's—
Do we have, I'm sorry, Glenda, do we have the admin rights to add and edit this site, or how do we add something to there?
I am editing. I'm editing all the time. Yeah.
So we send them to you and then you put them up?
Yes. So yes. So at the end of the meeting, I save, you save, you send me the recordings, we send the chat, and we basically make a summary of what was discussed the most, and we put some links, etc. But then the recording of the meeting and the chat is here for people to see posteriori. Right? We can't transpose everything, but just what was emphasized that shows up over there. And this is what's coming next, right? We have another one next Friday one on May 22nd, then we have a gap. So this is all being posted on the website of the, and those of you who are sharing labs, it's all coming here on the shared labs, okay? So it's all on that website. So we will keep increasing that, but it's never going to be perfect. And as I say here, I don't know if you ever seen this, but there's a very nice link on, there are other organizations working hard to compile resources for during COVID-19, for example, here, click on this, that's advices, tips, and resources done by Fizport. So you click here, and they have this very nice article with a lot of resources here. I'm just scrolling down. There's a lot of resources on this article that is put together by Fizport and keeps increasing. So these people are specialized in doing this. We are just tiny little working ants doing our little work a little bit, but those people are doing a bigger, they're pulling.
But every little bit helps, I think.
Yes. So there's it. I'm going to stop sharing. There you go.
Anybody else would like to share anything? I have one question at the end that before we end, a polling question to see if we need to revisit anything that was discussed today in more detail, with hopefully approval from everybody we need to.
I just have an announcement for when I'm guess the host on the 22nd. So sharing positive learning experiences we had this semester. I won't be able to fill up an hour as Michael and Maggie.
Sorry.
I hope people bring, not that we haven't had positive experiences, but I thought it'd be a good time for all of us to just chat together and share some good things despite all the obstacles we had and how we overcame some of them maybe, and good experiences we had with students learning online.
Absolutely.
It does seem like that will be an extension of what we'll be talking about on the 15th, because we're looking at what worked and what did not go well on next week.
So I might have stolen Tony's topic. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, it's okay. We won't exhaust everything. So my plan is to have Jen and Joe and I speak on a few things and then open the floor for everyone. I think we'll probably do 5 minutes each, or Jen, what do you think? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Oh, no, I think that sounds fine. The only thing is, if I did use Pivot this semester, if anybody wants to see how that works, it was awesome. I mean, absolutely, hands down, it was fantastic. If you want me to just give you sort of a really quick overview of what was fabulous about it, I could do that too.
Yeah, I think what my students had trouble with on the Pivot is that oftentimes, so like if you do refraction in Snell's law, I had a lot of students who would plot the two angles, the incident and the refracted angle on that graph, and some of them would actually get a straight line for just the angles. And some students would get good data and they get a nice curve, and you could kind of see the beginning of the sine function. But I've done this with I do this in a bunch of different labs. They always have trouble understanding that if you take the sines, it becomes linear. They don't understand that. And I think that's one of the big obstacles they had on the pivots, is there's a lot of that going on. And if you haven't held their hand a lot at the beginning of the semester to do that, then suddenly they get to the pivot and they're like, oh my God, they're like deer in headlights. And they can't seem to comprehend that part. But I love the pivots. I agree. They're wonderful.
We've had a whole lab for years and years and years at Harper where it's just teaching students how to linearize data, and they have to linearize 8 sets of nonlinear data as part of the lab. And they still don't really even understand that. By the end of the first semester, they're still not quite there. But we do have a whole lab for that, and that was very valuable when we flipped over to Pivot. I think that I only had a couple of labs where my students needed to do linearization, but they seem to catch it okay. but it's a big theme of the first semester.
We do it multiple times, and every time is completely new to them for most of the students. So,
yeah,
but, you know, a lot of them are trying. They really do want to understand. It's just difficult for them.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I love Tom's dog too. That's great. Thanks for bringing the dog online.
Yep.
Yeah, this is one of 5 at my house.
Oh.
This is Maisie. Chico's around here somewhere, but yeah, the tortoise is outside, so
It won't be a Zoom meeting without an animal showing up.
right.
All right, so I'm gonna launch the poll one last time, and then we can continue the discussion as we see fit. I know we didn't talk much about e-journals, but my only experience is through Canvas, and I noticed through the chat that not everybody has Canvas. And Glenda, you can always add your vote to whatever question you want.
I think, okay, so let me, I suspect everything that has to do with clicker questions, either online or just clicker questions, you know, that will attract people.
Yeah.
They're interested in more ways to do polling, in more ways to integrate interactive features in lectures. This is hot. Remember, so Karim, you did ask Dean about what was the play pause it, no, that feature that he was using, that other professor, I forget his name, that he was using to put in questionnaires during the videos, right? And many of the publishers, like that you pay a lot for, they have this type of quizzes. You watch a little video and then you stop the quiz, and then there's a questionnaire, and you can't move forward until you answer that questionnaire, and that type of thing. And that play pause it allowed you to do. It was the first time I've seen that too, so I would like to use that too. So and I was Googling, and there are more places that offer that free, right? And play pause it I will explore first, right?
I haven't found the free ones though, because the pause it one you have to pay for it, and I looked. I forgot the amount, but it didn't seem like a huge amount, but still something I had to pay for.
Yeah.
Canvas has a third-party app that you can do that with videos as well, but it's way too expensive right now.
Yeah, I have Camtasia, and within Camtasia I can build in some quiz questions. It doesn't have a lot of choices for the formats; it's just multiple choice and true false, so it's not very helpful, but at least it's a start, and I'm going to try that. So they'll have to go through the questions. Also, it doesn't completely prevent them from. I think they can only take the questions once. If they rewind the video, then they won't see the questions anymore. So some of the features are not so good, but at least I already have it, so I can use it, and I can embed that into my videos.
I'm going to end the poll and share the results, and then we can continue our discussion. This might give anybody who's willing to present next time an idea if they have something that's worked for them. Screen capturing software seems to be the winner. Camtasia would be one. Screencast-O-Matic is another.
Yeah, price-wise, I think Camtasia is more expensive, but it's a full-blown video editor, so you can do a lot of things with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there are kind of two things with the screen capture. They're screen capturing for when you're producing the things for asynchronous lecture videos or something. There's also the sort of screen mirroring, which is related but not always the same, right? So when you're doing things synchronously and you want to show people what's currently on your screen, and that it kind of ties in, at least in my brain, with the pen and drawing tablets too, with the screen mirroring. There's a little bit of conflation between those things.
Well, for the pen and tablet, I've used my iPad with Camtasia for pre-recording. And what I've done is the writing is, to me, is always slow. So watching the writing to appear on the screen is kind of slow. So I speed it up 2 or 3 times and then talk over that. And it makes for a much smoother experience and much more compact. So the video can only be like 5 or 6 minutes when it would have been 15, 20 minutes in writing. Because even if I try to write, I try to write neatly, so it takes a bit of time. Otherwise, it's not worth it. But it takes multiple efforts, and then of course voiceover narration. That's a whole other exercise.
So Martin was asking about cheating. Ooh, that opens a Pandora box now. Whoa, whoa.
I think there's no foolproof method. I mean, I don't think technology can keep up with you just being in the room and watching them. I don't think there's any way around that. So I guess my thing is, I guess I've had so much stress this semester besides the cheating that I just sort of like, I'm going to do my best, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it anymore, or else I'm just going to go crazy.
The responders will help you 30% of the way unless you use also the screen monitor. My students, many of them say, I don't have video. And so we are talking to the school the school is sharing some laptops to the students. I would say, well, give them also video cameras, because we want them to only take certain classes if they also have the video camera, so that we can do the responders lockdown browser and the video camera monitoring. And even so, we know, like Karim had mentioned, there are blind spots, etc. We'll be doing something, but preventing something, but not everything.
I'm for one not a big fan of the lockdown, but that's just me.
And the lockdown doesn't work in Chromebook and doesn't work in Linux. There are restrictions. So if your student has a Chromebook, it's not going to work in there. So
yeah, I didn't have an issue with my classes, but I had a lot of my colleagues that had issues with it. People would have phones open and they would read out questions out loud, and then they would see, they're watching, with, I think we used ProctorU, or there was another test proctoring thing where they would read out the questions out loud, and then somebody is going to email them the answer, and then they just wrote down verbatim basically what came off of the internet. And I just wonder if anybody had some issues or ways to deal with creating a course that could be developed online in which we could eliminate cheating or take advantage of the resources out there that, instead of, making it a bad thing, hey, go get it, see what you can come up with. And I just kind of curious as to what people's thoughts were about that.
well, I'm sad that Chris left, because I think the only way to do that, it means a lot of work on you, an instructor, and leaving a lot of more things to projects and creativity of the student, and a lot more. Well, Reagan too is here, or she left?
I think she left.
Yeah, a lot more of these projects, open-ended questions, or draw this, create this, imagine, design this experiment, and then go ahead and analyze it. But that's hard. That's hard to achieve specific goals, content, the same content for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. It's really difficult to make that big change. I did see recently a short article. I'll track it down. I found it on Twitter somewhere, I'm sure, but about the sort of the need to revamp what we think of, how we think of assessing in this online world. And it's that we really need good assessments, whether or not we're teaching remotely online or whatever else, but what is good changes when you change that environment. And that's where I've landed, is I'm trying to decide what's really good, and of those things, what's transferable in person to, offline to online. There aren't any easy answers, I don't think. I will say this though, I didn't change anything. I didn't do lockdown anything. I just sent my students PDFs of tests, And if they cheated, they suck at cheating.
I've used, go ahead, Glenda.
Well, for instance, in my last test was about optics, and that's the one that was terrible because it was hard for me to put a lot of pictures in Blackboard on the test. So I had to do descriptions like this: draw a right triangle, one of the angles is going to be this, one of the angles is going to be that, a ray of light is going to be entering between those two. And they had to draw the whole thing, and then total internal reflection, what's the angle as it comes out? They had to draw the whole thing. And that freaked them out when they had to draw everything and go through the description. And I'm thinking like whether I can do this. And so now that you find this angle, now use it to calculate something else. That would be really nasty for them.
I did my optics test where I just gave them a Word document, and there's editing tools on there that you can go through and draw the lines and stuff like that. So they were able to actually draw onto the document and then later upload it. And so I was watching them through Zoom, and they had to upload their document before they logged off to Zoom. And, you know, I had it set up so I could see both their computer screen and them and their, you know, surroundings and stuff at the same time. And that worked out real well for the optics stuff. But yeah, I'm really concerned about the mentality that students have, especially in the engineering physics, where that they feel like cheating to get a grade is actually going to be a benefit to them in the future. You know, and so the real solution is to train our students to not want to cheat, right? But you know, the odds of doing that with everybody is next to nothing. And what you end up doing is you end up penalizing the people who are trying to do that and not cheat, because they're going to have lower scores than the students who just cheat and don't actually learn as much. And so I think that's a big issue that we're going to have to address probably as not just in physics, but in all of education, as we're shifting to a primarily online type world, I believe.
Yeah, Martin hits it right on the head there. It's not even so much the cheating. It's that now cheating is their study strategy. Mm-hmm. When they don't know something, they go and ask Chegg to give them the answer. And that's, so then that's, I think, what we're seeing on exams is that they don't know how to solve the problem on their own. And a lot of it is, I think a lot of it for me is just that I don't think I prepared the students very well to learn online, because we just sort of switched so quickly, and I didn't really spend enough time really speaking with the students on, okay, how should you do this? How are we going to do this? What is going to be the best way? And I think in the fall, lesson learned, that's one of the big things, is that I'm going to spend a lot of time really going over what does it mean to be an online learner.
And here's where I think the e-journals might come in handy, because they have to document what they're doing. And I'm hoping we won't see something like, I went to Chegg and searched for problem 5 or something like that, right? But I've incorporated writing.
You're not even just searching Chegg.
Yeah.
You put a problem up there, and 20 minutes later, the answer's there.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's not the searching thing. It's that they can just post a question and get an answer within a half an hour. I'm sorry, it's a cheating website. There's nowhere else.
Yeah. It's nothing but to make them money and help some cheat. One thing I'm going to try in the fall is I'm going to have students log in, and we're going to do quizzes where it's only 50 minutes. Do it. Upload the answers, and I've incorporated time limits on all assignments right now. Once you download that PDF, like Tom said, once you download that PDF, you have 3 hours to turn it back in to count not late. But writing assignments have helped. Timed assignments have helped. They can access the document for a week, but once they do that, like I'll open the exam on a Monday and it will be due next Monday. But once they click on that document, they have 3 hours to turn it in. Is it full 100% proof? No. I don't believe. I think somebody said that there's not going to be 100% proof way to eliminate cheating if it's completely online.
How exactly are you doing that, Michael?
Again, this is a Canvas feature where you can make something available from until.
Oh, yeah, okay.
I believe Blackboard has the same thing. I'm not familiar with the other the other learning managements, but instead of just putting a due date in Canvas, under the due date box, there's available from until, and my until is the due date, and then the available from is whenever I open the exam up. And then in the settings, you can put a time limit on the assignment.
Yeah, I did that, but I on one case I made a mistake of having the due date one date, and then for review I wanted them to have access to it for the whole semester, so I put a later date. And some students said, "Oh, I don't have to do it right now; it's only due then." But I said, "Wait a minute, the due date is one thing, and available is a different. It means something different. So I have to change that and align them together. Otherwise, they'll."
I'm giving my second exam now. We go till June 13th, so we're still. So I'm giving my second exam now, and instead of giving them a document, I've created an assignment for each question.
Mm-hmm. I did the same thing, yeah.
And they have to upload their work for each question.
Yeah, I did the same thing on 2 exams. So the first time I had them upload each question separately, and then grading that was kind of a nightmare. Yep. So on the second attempt, I said, put everything into one PDF. And also one of the good things I realized later is if you use assignment instead of quiz, you can actually restrict the format of the file they upload, because I wanted a PDF, no images, because some of them have, image formats that I don't even know how to read. And so with a PDF, I can then download them, grade them on my tablet, and upload the test back. It was much easier that way.
I just remembered what I forgot to talk about. It's that Scanner Pro. Mm-hmm. Scanner Pro can take pictures of multiple pages and make one PDF out of them.
Yeah.
And that's what my students use to upload their work for homework, at least.
I told them to use Cam Scanner, but I'll look into it.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Cam Scanner works the same way.
Yeah.
As long as it's a scanner app that can allow multiple pictures in a file.
Right. Yeah.
I've asked them many times, and I still have some students that can't seem to figure that out.
If you delay the grading,
they'll figure it out quickly.
till they contact you and say, "Why haven't you graded my assignment? Because you haven't turned it in the format I asked you to."
Yeah.
It won't happen again. This is from experience.
I switched from using WebAssign for my homework to Expert TA, and that's helped out a whole lot, because with WebAssign, all of those questions come from the back of the chapters, and all those solutions are already available online.
Yeah.
And so with Expert TA, those are copyrighted ones and are allowed to be on anybody else's site, and supposedly they've got lawyers and stuff chasing them down and making sure that it doesn't show up on Chegg and stuff. They're algorithmed anyhow, but and they're pretty good questions that you actually have. And so for me, I teach more, it's the process. It's not about the answer, it's about the process to get there. And once they figured that out, I think they really enjoyed the Expert TA better than the WebAssign. I think they actually learned a lot more from that.
And you can customize the amount and the level of help that they can get while solving the problem, if I remember correctly from one of their presentations.
The worst thing about it, the one that the students don't like about that, is to input the formula, basically, to try to get the order of operations is just horrible for these students. And so when they input, that solution, but it's really, step number 2 or step number 3 in my process or my procedure to solve a problem. And once they figure that out, then they start working on, that process to get down there, and then they just plug in whatever they would do on paper just to try to match it up with what they have on the screen and stuff. So anyhow, I really do appreciate the Expert TA part.
So I explored Expert TA a while ago, and the questions were hard for the students, were very hard. This was, almost 3 years ago or even more. And I left it because not many of them I was just trying. not many of them were doing the problems, and I wasn't assigning a lot of points for it. I was just trying. But
Yeah,
did you link it with the textbook? Do you have it linked with the textbook?
No, it's not linked with the textbook at all. It's just general stuff.
Yeah.
But it was with my, well, no, I had it with my general physics too. So it was general physics and so algebra-based and calc-based physics. And you have the choice between, you can actually filter the questions for algebra-based and or filter them for calculus-based and stuff like that. But, you know, a lot
30, of. How much? Do you,
what's that?
do you remember how much it was?
Per student? I think it was $30-ish. It was about the same that WebAssign was.
Okay, fine.
I think it's usually much cheaper than WebAssign. I think it's $20 or 22, 21. I've used it over summer and I used it last year. I have some reservations about Expert TA, not because it's a bad system. I like the fact that it's cheap, but I think in some ways, if I was doing university physics, calc-based physics, I would much rather go WebAssign. In fact, I went into Wiley Plus not wanting to go because Wiley Plus publishes the book that I use, Math and Interactions. And so they kind of kicked us out of WebAssign. And so if you can write questions in WebAssign, it becomes a lot more powerful than Expert TA, because Expert TA, you don't really have the functionality of putting your own stuff, although they're going to add that. But I found WebAssign to be good in this way. My students had 6 tries, and then they also had practice tries. So I don't think the students were going out on check, but they would like to practice our problem and solve it. They don't get it. They have those 6 tries to practice a different problem entirely. And then they go in and do the other problem. And I think the students were really doing the problems and actually getting them done. Now moving on to these other homework systems, then you go check. And so I thought my students were looking at check and other things a lot more than when I had WebAssign. And WebAssign wasn't as expensive as Wiley Plus. So, I mean, these homework systems, it's all a question of just judging which one is good, which one's bad, and change this, change that. But in my calculus based, I would much rather have WebAssign than have Expert TA. I use Expert TA for Physics 3, and I used it for an exam too, which I didn't like because there wasn't much functionality and it was just an extended homework problem. And that's not what I wanted for my assessment to be. So
I didn't use Expert TA for my assessments at all. It was just practice and getting them to have instant feedback. They had something like 6 to 8 attempts to get it right. And a lot of it was, you know, by the time they got to the 3rd or 4th, they started asking questions, and it's always that negative sign, you know, that you know, throws them out and everything. But no, I didn't. I thought about trying to use it for my final or one of my first tests that we had to go online on, and I just knew it wasn't going to work out. So I did a different assessment.
So I just made the switch to Expert TA for the fall after like 10 years on mastering physics. So I'm quitting mastering physics this time because I had too many students who are getting almost perfect scores on any homework assignment, and then their test scores are way below that. The discrepancy was way too big for me, and so I realized what's going on. And I'm going to see what happens. So I'm going to couple that with OpenStax. I'm also quitting the textbook altogether. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to see the combination of OpenStax and the Expert TA for the fall. And we'll see. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll adjust later.
Yeah. I think I'm going your direction, Kareem, too.
I think it's going to work well. It's just that using it as an exam, I tried it. And it just wasn't, because I mean, it was one of those quick things I had to do. Yeah. And it was mostly relativity, which was like, how could I get this thing to a test? You know, it's just like, let me just do that. but I think it works well. I've tried it a couple of times. It's a good system, and the randomization of problems kind of helps, and not necessarily the textbook. Yeah.
Yeah, I've used OpenStax for a while now, a couple of years. Since they released the university physics level OpenStax, I've been using it, and students really like the free book. I've even had students go, you can buy physical copies of it through Amazon for $30 or something. It's super cheap, even if you want a physical copy. I don't do expertise. I don't do my online homework is turn in pictures of your work through Canvas. Students I did a poll a few years ago of several of my classes, and they basically said, yeah, anything that costs me extra money is going to make me mad, so I don't want to.
I was thinking of writing a faculty grant, which we have through the foundation on campus, and trying it out. But like Thomas said, what happens when the money run out? So I've adopted OpenStax for the fall. My only wish for OpenStax is that they will combine all 3 volumes into an extended volume, because depending on how you break the sequence for engineering physics, we offer engineering physics as a 4-semester sequence. So for my second and third classes, I'm going to have to use 2 volumes of OpenStax, which might be a little confusing because they start the second, each volume starts with chapter 1.
Oh.
Right. So I would like, and I've written to them saying, could you please consider combining all 3? So because it follows some of the traditional books out there. I mean, if you look between OpenStax and Young and Friedman, for instance, it's almost topic for topic matching. So it would be nice if they. I don't require.
Where you're using Canvas, I can't remember exactly where it was. Somebody in California. There's somebody put OpenStax text links directly into a Canvas module. It's just in. I found it, I don't know, a year or two ago, and it's fantastic. It's great because then you can. What I did is I just rearranged the chapters. I don't go in exactly the textbook order, so I just rearranged the chapter links to the text.
That's what I ended up doing, and I took all the numbers off, so they won't see the number till they click on the link.
Yeah.
If you're on Canvas, by the way, and you search in the Commons OEI Physics, that's where the classes will appear that Thomas was mentioning. And they have one for each of the 3 volumes.
Say that again, what was it? OEI?
OEI, Online Education Initiative.
Okay.
And then put physics in Canvas. You will see the 3 course shells come up. Maybe I'll when I send the summary to Glenda, I'll mention the name of the instructor who generated those. Okay. I've downloaded all 3 of them, and I'm gonna use them for my sequence starting in the fall.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I just want to say, I don't want to take us off track. Maybe this is a conversation for another meeting, but Martin mentioned momentarily that he thinks this is all going online in the future, and I guess it's all speculative on our part at this point, but do we really think that all our classes are going to possibly just be online, aside from the pandemic? I mean, are we really moving that way long term?
I have a fear that might be the case, right? The argument for it is going to be huge from the students, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Though my students actually complain, they really wanted us to meet in person, and they were talking about registration in the fall. They wanted to know if we were going to be in person. They really want to be in person.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if student demand. Maybe students have different perceptions at different schools and what they want as well.
Yeah.
The online classes are full already for summer, and the enrollment for fall is already looking good for the online ones. For the live ones, it's low.
Is that because they think they aren't going to, everything's going to go online?
Maybe it's fear. It's fear. It's fear or contagious. I guess it maybe.
There's also the misconception that online is easier.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and it's also easier to schedule too. We
right.
have certain face-to-face classes that only are offered, one time during the day. And if their practice schedule, because we have a large student body of student athletes, and if their practice schedule interferes, and it's amazing how much sooner in the daytime these practice schedules are moving down. We've got our baseball team that has their practices on Tuesdays and Thursdays that start at 10 o'clock in the morning. And so when I'm offering an engineering physics class starting at 9:30, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, which is what that class has been done forever. And then now he's merging down into the 10 o'clock time. I can't have any pre-engineering students take engineering physics, even if they're a baseball major, or they're not major, but basically a baseball major. But if they're playing baseball, they can't take that class. And so a lot of the coaches and stuff are kind of trying to merge down into our academic time, and our administration's allowing it to happen. And so that means that the majority of these athletes are having to take these online courses because there's just not, those classes aren't being offered in a time slot there that they can actually get to.
The only saving part for 2-year colleges is if the 4-year universities decide they won't accept it if it's fully online. They won't be transferable.
I had a student email me wanting to. It's interesting email. It was signing up. Oh, look at that! Hey,
that's Luna. Luna.
That's hey, an Luna. Experienced puppy.
Nice to meet you. Oh, who you got there, Martin?
Oh, Pug.
Very nice.
Who is it, Martin? Who was it?
Your microphone's off.
Sorry, that was BB. She's a pug.
We're a small number. I don't think we should worry about being on mute the whole time anymore.
I've got the TV running behind me here, so.
I was wondering whether you should stop recording right now.
If anybody doesn't, any objections to that?
No objections.
Okay.
No, go ahead.